I've moved my daughter 3 times just because of my insecurities.
It's hurt as a parent to know you're bearing your child before, you pass away.
Feeling as a father that you can't protect your daughter and something happens like this.
At the peak of her internet fame, Mereces Morr had 2.6 million followers. She partied with Drake and she was a star everywhere she went. People knew her as a famous model and an OnlyFans girl. But did they really know her? No more than a handful of people knew her real name, Jenae Gagnier, or her passions outside of her line of work. Jenae had plans to open her own clothing line. She also enjoyed peaceful quality time with her family. But this was getting harder and harder to achieve. And one day it all boiled down to an obsessed fan. After he tracked her down and unleashed his worst impulses, he covered Jenae's home in lipstick confessions, apologizing to the landlord and complaining that he was a victim in this horror show. What really went on in Kevin Accorto's twisted mind? What happened to Jenae? And what led to her tragic demise? This is the full story of Mereces Morr, aka Jenae Gagnier. On August 29, 2021, Mark Gagnier got a call from his daughter, London. She was panicking. Her sister Jenae's friends had told her that they hadn't heard from her in a few days. They wanted to know if London had spoken to her recently, but she hadn't either. When London checked her Instagram account, there were no stories or posts from the last several days. This was really worrying. After all, Jenae's entire career rested on her being active on social media. Mark phoned Jenae over and over again that day. First, he thought maybe she was sleeping late, maybe she'd had a rough few days and she didn't want any contact with the outside world. But as the hours passed, he feared the worst, and he couldn't just wait around, hoping his daughter would call him back. He brought his girlfriend along and visited Jenae's house. Her car was still parked in the garage, but her door was locked and no one was answering, no matter how loud he pounded on the door. Mark didn't phone authorities, he just kicked the door down. Every second was of the essence, he thought.
I know my daughter, and when I got to my daughter's house, and it was locked up, and she's not answering my phone, which is not like her, I knew something was up, so I didn't hesitate to kick the door down.
Sadly, it was too late to save his daughter's life.
And what I saw, I wouldn't want any parent to go through.
She was lying at the bottom of the stairs, partially clothed, curled up in a ball. Falling on his knees, crying, Mark asked his girlfriend to go upstairs and get a blanket to cover Jenae's body. She rushed upstairs, only to be hit by another shocking sight. A 34-year-old man named Kevin Accorto lay on Jenae's bed with a knife in his chest. He was still gurgling, struggling to stay alive. He had used the knife on himself, but not very well. It was a slow, horrible death. Jenae had passed away within seconds, but Accorto had been dying for 2 days. The horror show was not over. Accorto had covered Jenae's walls in confessions, which he'd written using her lipstick. Kevin Accorto died mere seconds after Mark asked him what he did, and through his slow, painful death, he escaped justice and denied Jenae's family a chance at real closure. But her case was just beginning. Jenae Gagnier was born on November 25, 1987, to Mark and Janessa. She grew up in the LA area with her 2 little twin sisters. Mark and Janessa had both served in the military, and their past was their common ground. But military life is not easy, especially for someone who wants to be around their kids. So early in their relationship, they decided to leave all that behind and open up a restaurant together. Jenae, too, was the crafty, hardworking type. She took after her parents even before they actively encouraged her to do so. She was only 12 years old when she started a little business, braiding other people's hair for money in her family garage. It was other kids and neighbors who wanted to support and encourage her ambition. And from there on out, Jenae was career-driven. Around this time, however, her parents split up and Mark moved back to his family in Texas. Jenae and her sisters would go on to travel back and forth between Texas and California, trying to spend an equal amount of time with each parent. As this happened when Jenae was entering her teenage years, the family drama seemed to seep into her school life. She would get in trouble, start fights, and have fluctuating grades. But hey, many teens go through a turbulent stage, divorce at home or not. And by the time she was 18, Jenae was confident she wanted to get her act together and focus on a career again. She enrolled in college to become a dental assistant. However, before the first year was over, she dropped out and moved to Las Vegas. She'd met a man and fell in love, and since neither of them was that much into studying and they both wanted to make money quicker, they decided they would give Vegas a try. For Jenae, it paid off. big time. She became a professional dancer in a strip club and took the stage name Mereces Morr. For her, this name meant luxury and always craving more. Jenae stayed close to her parents, so she let them know about her decision to do a 180 on her life. Needless to say, both were quite taken aback. A few months ago, she was a soon-to-be dental assistant. How come this sudden shift? Plus, they were worried. Being a strip club dancer might have its perks, such as immediate cash flowing in, but it has more cons than pros, at least from a parent's perspective. They were worried that Jenae wasn't safe. Clubs like that are full of lewd men with predatory behavior. It's easy to fall prey to one of them, or to a demanding, misogynistic manager. The discussion would never reach a conclusion. On and off, the family would have sit-downs, try and convince Jenae to change her profession, and worry out loud about all the dangers associated with her line of work. Every time, Jenae would have one argument. She was making $5,000 a weekend. Where else was she going to make this money without 10 years of higher education and practice? As months turns into years, Jenae's view on things stayed the same. The discussions became less and less frequent. You'd think Jenae's career journey ends here. With $5,000 each weekend and more in between, you could definitely live a good life, even in that expensive part of the world. But remember how she named herself Morr? Confessing to always craving more, Jenae used her newfound money and fame to promote herself on social media, and that paid off too. Within just a few months, she had tens of thousands of people following her, and she was hanging out with big celebrities at Las Vegas parties. Travis Scott, Offset, and Drake all appeared alongside Jenae at VIP parties, and she appeared alongside them on her social media. It boomed even harder. With 2 million followers and enough money to not work for a good while, Jenae decided to quit her dancing venture. She then took to OnlyFans, where what she sold was just as steamy, except it was from a safe distance, or so she thought. Jenae thought she would do OnlyFans for a while, put some more money on the side, and then open up her own clothing line and hair extension business. It had been her dream ever since she was 12 and braiding people's hair in her parents' garage. As you might guess, Jenae's family was not happy about that either. Couldn't she be a regular model without all that explicit content? The attention she would get for that was not the kind that you would want in your life. And this time, it wasn't just her parents who were commenting on it. Jenae had come to Las Vegas with her then boyfriend, but she never really cared for a long-term commitment relationship until now. She would date various people across her dancer years, but into her early 30s, Jenae started feeling like maybe she wanted a steady partner. Except no one wanted to be steady with an OnlyFans model, at least not the people she met over and over again. That was until she met a man who would become her fiance. The man, Kevin Accorto, claimed she cheated on him with. Of course, that wasn't true. Kevin was the last in a long list of stalkers that terrorized Jenae and pushed her to a life on the run, always looking behind her shoulder. OnlyFans is a place where you can make, like the name says, a lot of fans. But they're fans for all the wrong reasons. And many of Jenae's fans were obsessive stalkers, to put it lightly. For years before her death, someone doxed her by leaking her address online. Terrified of all the stalking incidents that could happen, she moved home. Within 4 years, Jenae moved home 3 times.
I've moved my daughter 3 times just because of my insecurities.
By 2021, she had made her final move to a gated community in Houston, Cortland Sugarlands. It was the safest location yet, and she was really hoping no one would leak it online. Jenae's father, Mark, had even encouraged her not to reveal her actual name to anyone, even friends she made along the way.
We keep her private. Nobody, not even her real friends, really knew her name.
By this time, she was 33 years old, and Jenae had 2 lives. On the one hand, her family, sisters, parents, fiance, and a couple childhood friends. They knew who she was, they knew of her career plans, and they were worried for her safety. On the other hand, the rest of the world who only knew her as Mereces Morr. Some admired her for her confidence, at least what she exuded on her social media accounts. Others desired her in the sickest ways, and they refused to respect her boundaries. Her family knew about all these kinds of people. They knew things would happen since she'd taken to the dancing and strip clubs. But Jenae was still hoping that no one would cross the line, not in such an evil way anyways. So when she posted herself in front of her front door, she did not expect it would lead to, once again, a leaked address. And she did not expect on August 29th of that year, an online stalker would calmly walk through the Cortland Sugar gates and into her apartment to take her life. Shortly after Mark and his girlfriend found the horrific scene at Jenae's home, they phoned 911 and urged the detectives to come and tell them how on earth this tragedy could have happened.
I want to find out why her, why him. Found her in her apartment doing a welfare check. People haven't heard from her in a couple days.
33-year-old Jenae Gagnier and 34-year-old Kevin Accorto were pronounced dead at the scene. Jenae's autopsy report would state her cause of death as asphyxiation by strangulation. Kevin's death was far longer and more painful. The only reassuring thought for Jenae's grieving family. At least he punished himself, even though they would have preferred if he'd let justice punish him accordingly. Accorto couldn't face prison time or tell Jenae's family why he did what he did. His disturbing lipstick confessions were all detectives had. They now had to sift through 2.6 million followers on Jenae's social media to try and piece a sort of puzzle together. Meanwhile, her 2.6 million followers were busy spreading hurtful rumors that Jenae had died at the hands of a violent sugar daddy or COVID-19 or even AIDS. The internet seemed to blame Jenae for choosing her line of work. It's the consequences of getting naked and being ready to do anything for money. God reminds you of it up there, I'm sure. Yeah, like you know what God thinks of Jenae. Hey, while being an OnlyFans model can have its dangers, you absolutely cannot blame the victim for a demented stalker with an evil plan. Jenae did not deserve to die, and she did not deserve to be tarnished online after her death.
News stories and calls and everything started popping up without reaching out to the parents, without reaching out for information. And it went from false accusations of HIV or COVID to other things, and nobody even reached out to talk to us.
Asking about the relationship between her and the suspect. And at this time, we are doing some investigating on social media to determine if there is an exact cause.
As it turns out, Kevin Accorto was a Florida man in a parasocial relationship with Jenae. That means one-sided. Jenae hadn't even heard of him. They'd never spoken online, and yet Kevin was obsessed with her and believed she had become his bride. And as it goes with people like Kevin, he viewed Jenae as his possession, not another person with a life of her own. So he was enraged that Jenae wouldn't even notice him, even though he'd never tried to contact her or form a relationship. The data experts concluded there were no interactions between Jenae and Kevin at the time of her death. Disturbingly, there were no signs of forced entry into Jenae's apartment. Accorto had managed to squeeze himself into the gated community and into Jenae's home without using force. The most likely scenario, someone let him into the main building, assuming he lived there. Jenae lived on the second floor, and there was a gate and 2 doors Accorto had to pass through to break into her home. He'd traveled from Florida to Texas with the precise goal of taking her life. Interestingly, his only previous crime was a small traffic violation. He was not your obvious walking, talking red flag. His family and coworkers seemed shocked to learn what he'd done. No one expected him to think of himself in a relationship with someone who did not know him. And no one expected him to build up such hatred towards a person he was obsessed with. It had happened before. Think of Mark Chapman, who was John Lennon's biggest fan, but also put a bullet in his heart while he was walking home with his wife, Yoko Ono. What's disturbing about these cases is that it feels as if they can't be prevented. If someone develops a hateful obsession in complete privacy, how can you keep yourself safe? Still, Jenae's parents blamed themselves for not being able to keep her safe.
As a parent, to know you're bearing your child before, you pass away.
Feeling as a father that you can't protect your daughter and something happens like this.
They also spoke highly of her and wanted to remind everyone she was more than a victim.
Loved. And she's probably loved more than we would have thought of.
Just like she had a few million followers, that's all fine and good. But she was a person, and we miss her a lot.
Jenae was loved, funny, goofy, crazy as hell. I know, and I shouldn't say that about my daughter, but that's my daughter.
Drake also shared his condolences to Mereces Morr's family through an Instagram story. He would even dedicate his new album, Certified Lover Boy, to the 2 victims, speaking out against gender-based violence. Jenae made her choices with confidence and focused on her future. She did not deserve her tragic end, nor should obsessed stalkers be normalized in any world or industry. Let us honor her and use her story to raise awareness about keeping safe online. Be vague about where you live. Post your stories after you've left the place. And don't encourage predatory behavior from anyone. Block, report, and run away from anyone who makes you feel unsafe. There are nasty people out there, and we should do our best to keep them at a safe and crucially necessary distance. Hey, thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on this case? Do you know other similar stories? Leave a comment down below and let me know what other stories you'd like me to cover. Give this video a like, subscribe for more, and come back soon.